There's one thing I want you to do for me.
What?
Come here. Win.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tim Gaither podcast. This is going to be my first one, but this one is only going to be about, 10, maybe 15 minutes, if that. It's because I'm a stand-up comic, and obviously a lot of my friends and family and whatever are going to be the ones who are initially listening to this podcast. But this first one here is just a little rundown of who I am. I'm obviously not famous, or I wouldn't have to tell you who I am. But there's kind of a misconception with stand-up comics that if you're not famous, then you're maybe not very good, which could not be further from the truth. The funniest people I know in this business are people that you have probably never heard of. And part of that is because really funny people aren't always good at talking about who they are and bragging about themselves and all the things that are pretty necessary these days. Self-promotion is pretty necessary these days in order to be known. And I like to think that I've gotten pretty good at the stand-up part of it. I've been doing it for a living now for over 16 years. I've been doing it over 18 years and 16 years for a living. And I like to think I've gotten pretty good at it. And but not a lot of people know who I am because I've focused on working and getting good at stand-up, but not necessarily that other aspect of it. I've got like 550 Twitter followers, which is unfortunately a way bigger measuring stick in most people's eyes of how successful you are, which is just too bad because I know some guys with over 100,000 Twitter followers who I wouldn't watch do 5 minutes of stand-up. So, anyway, my name's Tim Gaither. I'm a headlining comic. I'll be at the Des Moines Funny Bone next week, rather. I was at the Omaha Funny Bone this last week. It was awesome to be around Midwest people again. I live in California again, and I like it out here. I'm not going to bag on California. I love the weather. The traffic's enough. I tell people the weather is enough reason to live here, and the traffic's enough reason to move. But you got to take the good with the bad. There's a lot of good people out here. But it was nice to go back to the Midwest. Every now and again I hear people say that the Midwest is just a flyover zone and all this crap, and nothing pisses me off more because it's not true. There's a lot of good, smart people in the Midwest. There's a lot of good, smart people throughout the country. And there are also a lot of dipshits throughout this entire country. I don't care if you're in California or New York or anywhere in between. You're going to find the good, the bad, the ugly. That's just how it is. It drives me crazy when people, they claim they're not racist, but they have no problem judging an entire state or region. Like I've heard comics say stuff like, "This is my impression of everyone in the South." And it's like, well, come on. You know, I had a comic not too long ago tell me that I couldn't do jokes about race because I had a bit of an accent, so people would think I was racist. Well, if you think someone is a racist because they have an accent, then you are just as ignorant as a damn racist. So, anyway, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but people drive me crazy. I have a website, timgaithercomedy.com. What I hope to do with this podcast and everything else is I am just going to build up my YouTube page. I am going to get my YouTube everything I do, stand up and pranks and everything I do, the podcast, it's all going to go on my my YouTube page, which is going to be youtube.com/timgaither. And everything I do is going to be on there. And that way I can promote one thing, my YouTube page. And hopefully people will subscribe to the YouTube page. That way they'll know when the podcast is coming up. They'll know every time I put up a new video. And the more subscribers I have, the better. So I need people to share this and download it. I think it's going to go on YouTube first, because that's the easiest platform for me to put it on. And I'm not the technical guy. I don't know. I'm just going to record stuff and we'll get that figured out. Again, this is just kind of so people who don't know me know who I am. I started out, like I said, 18 years ago. I graduated from Kansas State University. I was going to be a teacher and a wrestling coach. I love wrestling, and I was going to teach and coach, and I figured I'd have my summers off, and that'd be my life. But in the back of my mind, I knew that was not what I was going to end up doing. I had a feeling that I would do something in entertainment or hopefully, stand up, but I just didn't know exactly. But the closer I got to becoming a teacher, I kept getting more and more anxious about it. I was like, I don't want to be a freaking teacher, I mean, teaching is not something you should go into half-ass, and I was definitely going to. I was going to be that teacher who told you to take your tests and pass them back to your neighbor so he could grade them. I would have shown a film every other day. I mean, I just know that about myself. I would not have, those kids wouldn't have learned a damn thing. So I was in college and I was getting stressed out about what to do with my life, and a friend of mine, Lisa Freeman, said, you need to listen to this DVD, and not to change my life, just to for entertainment value, and we listened to it, and I laughed so hard. Bill Hicks was so funny, and I walked home that night and thought to myself, that was the funniest guy I've ever heard, and I had never heard of him, which to me meant I could do stand-up comedy for a living even if I never got famous. And that sounded pretty cool to me. I was like, there's clubs all over the country. There's ways to make money doing this. So I figured I'm just going to get good at it and make my living that way. And getting famous and all that, maybe to my detriment. Maybe that's why I'm not famous. But I don't think I even give a shit about that. But anyway, I digress. I went to my counselor the very next morning, and I said, I've got 100 and something credits, and I might as well get a degree, but I'm going to be a comic. And she looked at me like I was crazy, and I was like, don't worry about it. That's what I'm going to do. And so she pulled up my numbers and said, you can have a social science degree next semester. And I said, I'll take one of those. I had no idea what the hell it was. I figured you could get a job with any degree. It just proves you're trainable, whatever. So that's what I did. I took one more semester, got my degree, and then started doing open mics. And at the 2-year mark, the restaurant I was working at closed down, and I have never had another job in over 16 years. And I've moved up to a headliner the last few years full time, and had some success right from the start. To be honest with you, I was working on the road pretty quick after starting, and it was just one of those things I knew that I could do, as crazy as it sounded. And of all the things that I didn't know if I could do throughout my life, this, which is one of the hardest things in the world, if I do say so myself, I knew that I could do. I just did. And the very first time I ever got paid, I made $8 for it. And it was like the 10th time I'd done comedy. It was the best of Kansas City on a Tuesday night. I made $8. And I was ready to quit because I ate shit. I mean, it was the first time I ever didn't do well. And like my 10th set in. And I literally didn't get a laugh the entire set. It was me and Chris Porter was the headliner. And neither one, he had been doing comedy, Chris started about a year ahead of me. And I ate shit. Everyone on the show didn't do well. I think Chris did all right, but even then he only had about 20 minutes, so he went short. And the guy running the show, Keith Rainey, was freaking out because we were going short on the time. And Brian Burgess happened to walk in, Brian Burgess is the funniest guy you will never hear of. He doesn't even do comedy anymore. If he does, very rarely, but he was brilliant. And he walked in, And Keith needed him to go up, and he went up and just destroyed for about a half an hour. And I sat in the back of the room and thought to myself, well, Tim, this guy's been at it 15 years. That's why he's that good. You can't quit after 8 times because you didn't get a laugh, you big freaking baby. So that night taught me a lot, and I didn't really look back after that. I just knew that the first 2 years I was going to dedicate to just getting good at it, or trying to get good at it. Not that you can get good in 2 years, but I definitely got a lot of experience in those 2 years. And then the restaurant I was working at closed down right at the 2-year mark, and I've never had another job. And I'm proud of that, but it's time to take this to the next level. Like, I feel like I've gotten really good at the other part, and I'm a good place personally, and I got a lot of stories. I used to drink a lot and do a lot of stupid shit, and I'll be happy to share every story that I remember. And I'm going to have guests on, not all the time. When it's just me, I'll probably do about a half an hour, and when I have a guest on, it'll probably be an hour. And I'm going to have some, I know a lot of comics, a lot of good comics. I'm going to have them out to my house in Southern California where I live. I'm going to have them out here for dinner, and we're going to do a podcast. So there's going to be some pretty cool guests. And when I don't have a guest, or when I'm on the road, or when I'm got nobody to interview, these days with technology, I'll be able to talk to anybody. And sometimes it'll just be me rambling for a half hour, like today. So hope it didn't take up too much of your time. The next one will, I've already got a guest. Drake and I, my friend Drake Nelson came on, and we had a good time. And be patient with us. I've got people helping me, but editing, and there's certain shit. It might not be great at first, but it's going to keep getting better, and I appreciate you guys listening. And I'm going to go watch some Olympic wrestling now. We just got Jordan Burroughs, our 4-time world champion, just got beaten by a Russian. And man, these freaking Russians, dude, are just cheaters. I mean, not only are most of them all juiced up, I mean, the whole freaking country, not just the wrestling team. And it's documented that they've just cheated their asses off and messed with the doping tests and bribed the agencies. And there's just nothing that Russians will not do to win an Olympic gold medal. And however that sounds, I don't give a shit. It's true. They cheat. If you look at Anwar Gadoyev, the guy who just beat Jordan Burroughs, look at a picture of him from 2011 or 12 where he's the same weight class, and look at him now where he's literally got muscles coming out of his freaking ears, and he gasses out like you wouldn't believe because he's got so much freaking muscle. And not only do they do that, but Jordan Burroughs, they just cheat. They just cheat. They stall. They'll do anything. They'll wrap their head and then take the wrap off and cut their own heads open. And I mean, they'll just do any damn thing. Anything. Bribery. It pisses me off. And I know that sounds like sour grapes because Jordan lost, and hopefully he's going to come back for the bronze. But I'm going to watch the rest of it here in a minute. And if you're not into wrestling, you should be. It's just the coolest sport in the world. And it's one of those things where I don't almost want people to realize how cool it is because I enjoy being able to go and get such great seats and be able to, But at the same time, I just want people to realize it's just awesome. College and international. These guys are so good. I went to World Championships last year, and these guys are just assassins. They're assassins. I was an undefeated state champion in high school. I wrestled a couple of years in junior college. I was pretty good. And I couldn't score a point on these guys to save my life. To save my life and my family's lives. I mean, they're just amazing. So, anyway, that's it. Someone's blowing up my cell phone, so I'm going to go see who it is. And anybody still listening on Tuesdays, every Tuesdays, we're going to put up the podcast. So thanks for listening. God bless all of you, which I will get into. I'm no religious nut by any means, but I do believe in God, and I got theories about a lot of things and opinions, and hope you guys will tune in and listen to it every Tuesday. So there we go. All right, take care. Bye-bye.